For 20 long years, the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru government placed the family of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose under Intelligence Bureau surveillance. Declassified IB reports have revealed that the Nehru government had snooped on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's close family, not just in India, but also abroad. And this was intrusive surveillance. This is a big India Today exclusive.
A shocking state secret. Independent India's most explosive Spygate case. A massive row over India Today's exclusive revelations about the Netaji Snoopgate by Nehru government. For nearly 2 decades, the Intelligence Bureau tailed family of Subhash Chandra Bose. Newly declassified papers show unprecedented surveillance on Netaji's wife and other close family members. The Intelligence Bureau intercepted their letters, shadowed them on domestic and foreign travels. India Today has also accessed Nehru's letter to the then Foreign Secretary, showing keen interest in movement of Netaji's family in Tokyo. The family of Netaji is furious after the revelations and question why a revolutionary patriot was treated in such a way.
The most disgraceful aspect of this surveillance was that private letters between my father, Dr. Shishir Kumar Bose, and his aunt, Emily, Netaji's wife, were being opened and copied and read. So it's an unacceptable invasion of privacy.
Letters are being opened, copies taken and then sent. I really do not know what they are looking for.
Why surveillance is being done? We would also like to know. Today we are demanding declassification of Subhash Bose's files. Are we also under surveillance?
The revelation sparked a political war between the BJP and the Congress.
Every attempt is made to distort history, not realizing that in the process the BJP and the BJP-led government is guilty of denigrating the tallest of our leaders.
There is enough reason for the government to also look into what has been our demand, what is the social media's demand, and what has come out of this controversy which has come out of this book. I'll certainly pass it on to the government.
Bose family members feel these revelations are only the tip of the iceberg. The truth, according to them, lies in the Netaji files, which the government has refused to declassify for over 50 years. With camera person Chitra Bhanu, this is Sandeep Unnitan in Kolkata for Headlines Today.
The question remains, why snoop on the family? There are several theories doing the rounds. Let's take a look at some of these theories. Was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru uncomfortable about, well, the Nazi or what was perceived as pro-Nazi tilt of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose? Was the Nehru government unsure if Netaji was alive? Did he fear that Netaji was so charismatic that he could come back and perhaps dethrone Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru? Bose family's international travels led to fear of the INA, its resurrection. Was this one of the fears of the Pandit Nehru government at that point of time? The Bose family was under surveillance, perhaps also because of their leanings. Was this something that made Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru very uncomfortable, and especially after the debacle, after the 1962 war? Did he fear that if Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was alive, he could come back and perhaps dethrone Pandit Nehru? Now, these declassified papers reveal that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was very insecure. His government was insecure. They made the IB snoop on Netaji's family's personal letters, trailed their kin, not just in India, but also abroad. They tracked their visitors. The question is, why? Joining me on the broadcast is Chandra Kumar Bose. He's Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's grandnephew. He joins us on the broadcast. Welcome on the show, sir. Also joining us on the broadcast is Professor Mridula Mukherjee. Now, she's the former director of Nehru Memorial Library and Museum. Brijesh Kalapa represents the Congress party on the broadcast. We will be joined by the BJP guest, Sandeep Unnithan, Deputy Editor, India Today Group. He's with me in the studio. My first question is to you, Sandeep. You've scooped the story. What was the nature of the snooping?
Well, Gaurav, the nature of the snooping is almost to the level of what you would expect of a communist country. I mean, we've seen the Stasi files that were declassified when East Germany integrated with the West Germany, and where German citizens could actually see that they were, surveilled on a daily basis. These were people, ordinary citizens who posed no threat whatsoever to the government, were under such rigorous and intense surveillance, were being reported on, their movements were being tracked, and this is something that you don't expect a democratic country to do. And this is the kind of surveillance that we see in the Bose family files for 20 years.
Intrusive surveillance these papers relieve. Chandrakumar Bose, what do you make of these revelations? Was something like this ever discussed in the family, sir?
You see, my father, Omionath Bose, was extremely close to his uncle Subhash. In fact, Subhash Bose had appointed my father to carry a secret document to the Soviet government. If he would have been caught with that document, both Omio Bose and Subhash Bose would have been hanged. So that kind of confidence Subhash Bose had on Omionath Bose.
Okay.
Now, as far as the scooping is concerned, obviously the government of India of that era under Pandit Nehru,
yes,
and even subsequently Congress governments, they somehow thought that Omionath Bose may be in touch with his uncle, yes, Subhash. You see, otherwise I don't find any reason, because Omionath Bose was a barrister at law. He used to practice at the Calcutta High Court and the Supreme Court of India. He was also a member of parliament in the Lok Sabha. He had defeated Sachin Chaudhary, the finance minister in Indira Gandhi's government.
And the question remains...
He had visited Japan.
Yes.
Yes.
And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru wanted to know who he met in Japan. Did he visit that Renkoji temple? Professor Mukherjee, what do you make of these revelations? Was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru insecure about Netaji?
Let me make another point. Let me finish.
Let me for a moment put that question.
Bose was also very close.
Yes.
Very close to Pandit Nehru as well. And Pandit Nehru had offered my father the first High Commissioner's post to London, which of course my father declined.
Okay.
So personally, there was an extremely good rapport with the Bose family and the Nehru.
Why this snooping?
So it is baffling.
It indeed is
baffling. We are not able to understand, and the people of India are not able to understand.
Okay, stay with me for a moment, sir. Let me put that question to Professor Mukherjee. Professor Mukherjee, what do you make of these revelations? Was Pandit Nehru insecure about Netaji?
I don't think that the material that you have got and what has been presented leads us to this conclusion.
Why not?
I think this is an old story about insecurity. There is nothing in the documents which have been presented which shows that the surveillance was ordered by Pandit Nehru. We need to see all the documents. We need to see what was recorded, why the surveillance was being done, who ordered it, for what purpose. This is just speculation.
Is this speculation, Sandeep Unnithan?
Can I just finish?
Yes, on this particular point, because you say that these papers do not reveal Pandit Nehru's insecurity. Why would all letters going into the house be opened, scanned, looked at and then sent? Why would the relatives be trailed when they were abroad? Is this
absolutely? I mean, Gaurav, I totally agree with you. There is no room for doubt that this surveillance was ordered at the very highest level. Because if you see a couple of these pages, a few of these intercepts here,
And show
which
them
I
to our
have
viewers.
here.
Show them to
few
our
of these
viewers.
intercepts here are addressed to some of the most important people in the IB at that time. You're talking of people like Ramnath Kaur, who was the right-hand man of Nehru. He was the person who founded the RNAW. You have Mr. M.L. Huja, who headed the Intelligence Bureau in 1968. So these were all the leading lights of the Intelligence Bureau. These were men who rose to the top of their professions, who headed organizations, who began intelligence organizations. This is not a one-off surveillance or, you know, something that was ordered by the West Bengal unit and therefore Delhi did not know about this. Every one of these intercepts, these files, these were copied and they were sent to Delhi where IB officials studied it. And let's not forget that these files have not been declassified from West Bengal. They have been declassified from the Home Ministry here in Delhi.
Respond to this, Professor Mukherjee, and this is something that didn't happen over a 6-month period or a 1-year period. This happened over 20 long years, and 16 of those 20 years, Pandit Nehru was the Prime Minister.
So we need to know who ordered it and how. I can only speak on the basis of documents. I can't speculate. I'm a historian.
Yes.
I'm not a politician. I'm not a journalist. I need data to be able to generalize.
Okay. Brijesh Kalappa, independent India's first Prime Minister, insecure, says Sandeep Unnithan on the basis of these papers, ordered intrusive snooping. What do you make of this, Brijesh Kalappa?
Yeah, but you'll have to accept, Gaurav, that if Sandeep Unnithan didn't say that Panditji was insecure, nobody would have read the story. So Sandeep really has to say that Panditji was insecure. Otherwise, there would be no interest in the story. So, you know, this is only Sandeep's, you know, interpretation of how these things have panned out.
Really?
But I'm just thinking aloud, Gaurav.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, while I'm on your show, I'm just thinking that supposing I went missing, right? And I went missing, and a lot of people were very keen on knowing where Brijesh Kalappa went, right? The first persons, they would have, you know, maybe the intelligence agencies or whoever it is, the first persons who would have, they would have, you know, snooped upon or surveilled upon, would have been my wife and my children. Would it so? I'm just thinking. I don't know. I don't know the facts.
20 long years?
I'm just thinking, supposing I went missing for say 20 long years.
Chandrakumar Bose, are you convinced that Pandit Nehru was concerned
who would have
about
given a better
Netaji?
clue as to where I was, other than the closest family relatives? I'm only thinking. I don't know.
Okay, Chandrakumar Bose, is this explanation acceptable to you? That Pandit Nehru was perhaps concerned about Netaji missing, and that is why this snooping for 20 long years?
I'm only thinking about it. I don't know if that is the explanation. Because...
Okay, Mr. Bose?
You see, let us look at it from a different perspective. Let's not, this debate should not be mudslinging between two political parties, because we are talking about a leader who was inclusive. You see, Subhash Chandra Bose represents India as a whole. Subhash Bose was also the Congress president, if you remember.
Of course.
He was the Congress president in 1938 and then in 1939.
Yes.
Probably the last Congress president who was actually elected from within the party.
Yes.
So let us, and he defeated in 1939. He defeated Gandhiji's candidate, Pattavi Sitaramaiah. Now these are historical facts. So Subhash Bose is also an integral part of the Congress party. He of course subsequently had political differences with Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Nehru.
Yes.
So he left and he formed his Azad Hind Fauj and he had a different approach.
That is a matter of history. Do you buy the Congress argument that it was concern and this wasn't snooping? This was concern.
Yes, it was concern. Then why should they snoop on Amyonath Bose? Amyonath Bose did not go missing. Amyonath Bose wanted to find out what happened to his uncle Subhash Chandra Bose. That is why he had gone to Japan in 1957. But we understand Intelligence Bureau people had put surveillance on him even in Tokyo.
Yes.
Wherever he went in Japan, he was tracked. So this is the issue. It is not a question whether Subhash Bose would have come back or would have been alive. but the quest that the Bose family members, Amionath Bose and Shishir Bose undertook, somehow raised a suspicion with the Congress regime. I mean, this is only my assumption.
Okay, this
More
is fair
documents have to be declassified.
Fair enough.
Only couple of documents we are having in our hands.
Fair
we
enough.
need to
Let me put that
declassify
question.
160 files.
Let me put that question to
Then
GVL
only we
Narasimha
can
Rao.
come to the truth.
To GVL Narasimha Rao of the BJP. GVL, your party stands accused of selectively leaking documents for political gains by the Congress party. These allegations are serious, GVL. Why not declassify all papers?
These are completely bizarre and baseless allegations. The amount of evidence that is already available, and some of the Congress leaders in the morning were pointing out that these are some kind of leaks that are coming out from the government. I think that such is the level of care that Congress spokespersons and Congress leaders have in making those irresponsible statements. What has come out by itself is so damning. I think let the questions be, rather than seeking more and more documents to be declassified at an appropriate time, whenever the government of the day considers that appropriate. Some more documents could be declassified. But the evidence that is available today itself shows how different generations of the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty have had the same kind of DNA to snooping on their political rivals and potential challengers, and the party that really makes a big song and dance about some constable visiting Rahul Gandhi's house.
Okay.
Now you find they were snooping on family members for 2 decades, and they were reading their letters. They were tailing them wherever they went, both in India and abroad. I think these are damning allegations.
Yes, I want Brijesh Kalappa to respond to this, but before that, I want to bring in Sandeep Unnithan on another aspect. For a moment, just hold on for a moment.
Yeah, Gaurav, just one moment, Gaurav.
Yeah, give me a second. Sandeep, this
Gaurav,
is not just about Pandit Nehru.
Gaurav,
he was Prime Minister 16 of 20 years. Brijesh, give me 2 minutes.
Yeah,
give me 2 minutes.
I just want to read out one of the assessments made on Amir Bose, Bose, and the IB report mentions the subject is now reportedly taking keen initiative in the matter of the formation of the Azad Hind Dal with ex-INA men. I mean, this is a very crucial piece which actually tells you what the IB was worried about, the reorganization or the rebirth of the INA, so to speak. I mean, this doesn't suggest that they were keeping a surveillance on the family because they were worried about Netaji having gone missing. This is very clearly,
Professor Mukherjee.
This is very clearly they feared the emergence of the INA and of the Bose family as political adversaries.
As political adversaries, was this Pandit Nehru's big fear? And what is the date on that letter? What is the date?
The date is, it's dated 1968.
1968. So was this the Congress party's concern?
Gaurav, I don't think you have given me an opportunity to respond. You have not given me an opportunity to respond, Gaurav.
Give me 2 minutes. I'm coming to you on that point. But I want Professor Mukherjee, was the Congress party scared that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose could come, and even after Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru had passed away, this fear stayed in the Congress party because that surveillance continued even subsequently, Professor Mukherjee?
Firstly, I think it's quite absurd to suggest that Nehru was afraid of Bose coming back, because all the inquiries, everybody had proved that Bose had died in 1945. There was an inquiry done by Mountbatten when he was heading the Southeastern Command in 1946, done by a British intelligence officer, nothing to do with the government of India, which had already proven that Bose had died, that crash had taken place. I know there are many lovers or followers of Bose who out of a sentiment refuse to believe it. That's their prerogative. Leonard Gordon, who is one of the best historians, an American who's done most extensive work on the Bose family, came to the firm conclusion that all these inquiries that had been there had shown. It's only the Mukherjee inquiry in 1999, more than 50 years after the event, which again raised doubts. And let's not forget, it was set up by the NDA government, but I don't want to get into the politics.
No,
about
that be the
Amiyanath
case.
Bose. Let
Ma'am.
me tell you, can you please let me finish?
Yes.
Please give me 1 minute.
Yes.
About Amiyanath Bose. He called himself on record as a friend of Indira Gandhi. He went as ambassador to Burma. And you are saying that the same person she was fearing, 68, is Indira Gandhi. I'm
Yes.
sorry, the facts don't match up to your theory of insecurity. Insecurity about what?
Okay. That's your point, that insecurity about what, and that's exactly why we said 16 of those 20 years Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was Prime Minister, but did that insecurity remain? If you are saying that, all these inquiries said that Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had passed away in that air crash, why put his family under sustained surveillance?
Because his family, let's be a little realistic here. Okay. Netaji had died, but his members of his family, his relatives were in politics. It is quite possible, like other political parties, the forward bloc and members of the forward bloc were under surveillance. I don't know. We need to see the files. We need to see the notings. We need to know why they were under surveillance. I cannot hypothesize on it. But they were all in politics on their own count. We are going on saying they are his children as if they are babies. These are grown-up people participating fully in the politics of the time.
Okay, Mr.
And
Bose.
any government, as most governments do surveillance of their opponents. I'm not doing it. I'm not saying it's good or bad. That's how the world runs. I'm sure this government also does it. I'm sure the USA does it. We do it on China. China does it on us. Pakistan does it on us. America does it on everybody.
Fair enough. That surveillance point is taken. But is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's family, is Mr. Bose convinced? Fair enough. Mr. Bose, are you convinced that Netaji passed away in that air crash in 45, as Professor Mukherjee seems to indicate?
Well,
yes, I am
more evidence to establish that Subhash Chandra Bose did not die in any air crash on the 18th of August 1945. But we don't have any conclusive evidence to establish either ways. So that is the issue today. We demand, the people of India demands, that Narendra Modi government set up a judicial inquiry, a high-powered judicial inquiry under a sitting judge of the Supreme Court, and declassify all the 160 files. There are over 100 files with the government of India and 64 files with the West Bengal government. All these files must be declassified, and this judicial committee will continue the work where Justice Mukherjee could not complete. Justice Mukherjee could not proceed beyond 18th August 1945 because of absence of documents.
Absolutely.
So it is high
Brijesh
time
Kalappa,
for transparency's sake.
Absolutely, there should be a transparent judicial inquiry.
To be a transparent government.
Sure.
So let us demand this judicial. Sure, Congress and all other parties would support it.
Brijesh Kalappa, the allegation is the kind of intrusive surveillance in today's day and age that is put on suspected anti-national elements or terrorists. That was the kind of surveillance that the Pandit Nehru government had on Netaji Bose. Respond to that, Brijesh Kalappa.
Can I?
After Brijesh Kalappa,
ma'am. A minute, please.
No, those allegations are totally ridiculous. Why should Panditji? Why should Panditji, who had appeared as a lawyer for the INA, why should he have put these people under surveillance, if not for concern, if at all? I don't know, because you see, these stories have to be finally confirmed by the government of the day. And how does the government of the day finally confirm these stories? Because until then, these are only fairy tales. These stories can be confirmed only if the entirety of the files are declassified. And insofar as Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao said, he spoke about surveillance, he said the Gandhi family always does this. I would like to know that there is a 25-year-old attractive architect in Gujarat who surveilled on her, who snooped on her, who wanted to know when she went to the toilet, who wanted to know when she went to eat ice cream, who wanted to know all these details.
Okay.
Let him answer that. When she was in Bangalore, she was being snooped upon. Let Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao answer that.
Okay,
What is the
GVL
reason
Narasimha
for
Rao.
being snooped upon?
Gaurav,
Okay.
Was it not
Yes.
because somebody had an infatuation?
Okay.
for her?
Gaurav, can I?
Go on, GVL.
Yeah, I think I would like to. I don't think Kalappa's point actually doesn't deserve a comment. But I would like to say, Mridula Mukherjee on the panel, she
Yes.
seems to have a very narrow perspective only of history. She was a director of the Nehru Memorial Library for 5 years under UPA government, and she seems to have a very prismatic view of history. And therefore, I think it's important that we understand her own involvement in possibly protecting Nehru's history, and she wants us to see Nehru from her own perspective.
No,
I think certainly the evidence
this
that is
allegation,
available
counter allegation is not
today
what
does
I'm interested in, GVL Narasimha Rao. That
It's
is not the point.
allegation.
The point
I'm saying
is, will the
she
BJP
is
government...
speaking as a historian, and she has a clear, has clearly
Will your
a narrow
government
view on
now
this. She has a very
declassify-
colored view on this.
Will your government declassify all Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose papers, all the 165 papers and files on this, all of them, declassify them?
I think the government has answered that in Parliament, and I don't think I would like to give a different answer here. I think it's all a part of the record in Parliament proceedings, and I'm not in a position, I don't want to give you a different answer than
No,
that.
but then you are singing a different tune when you're in the opposition, you're singing a different tune when you're in government, GVL Narasimha Rao.
I think whatever documents, whichever files can be put in public domain, can be declassified. The government has examined that, and whether any more files will be declassified is something I think only the government, only the ministers, only the government can possibly decide. I cannot speculate on that.
Sandeep, Justice Ganguly, former judge of the Supreme Court, he is of the opinion that these documents show the intensity of bias against Netaji and his family. On what basis is he saying this?
Well, I mean, if you look at the language that's been used against the Netaji family, and let's not forget that Netaji was one of the last people to enter the pantheon of freedom fighters. I mean, the narrative has so far been that of of Mahatma Gandhi and Nehru, and till 1978, you didn't have a portrait of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose in Parliament. It was unveiled only after the first non-Congress government took power in Delhi. And you know, I was just talking to one of Netaji's grandnephews, and this is what he said, that the bias continued against the family. They were virtually put on a blacklist, and they could not discuss this even in Germany. I mean, you had Indo-German cultural associations which could not raise the topic of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose because of his so-called fascist
Perhaps that is what needs to be answered now. One thing that's come out of this discussion is very clear. All the Netaji files need to be declassified because this government owes it to not just the past history but for future generations to know the truth about Netaji, what exactly happened to him. I would like to thank all my guests, Chandra Kumar Bose, Professor Mridula Mukherjee, Brijesh Kalappa, GVL Narasimha Rao and Sandeep Puneethan. Many thanks for joining me on this show.